I'm here with a 2009 Ruff and Tuff personal cart, golf cart, whatever you want to call it. This is a 48 volt. What happened is this belongs to my neighbor, and he called me one evening and said, "Hey, I've lost all my accessories. Driving it at night, everything went out, which this one has windshield wipers, blinkers, hazard light, headlights, tail lights, speedometer that lights up." So they're riding it, and out of the blue, for no reason, they lose all accessory power. So I go take a look at it. I end up finding 3 fuses. Now, I've been all over forums, investigating this thing all over the internet. Most of the things I'm finding is people can't figure it out. They get no help because, from my research, Ruff and Tuff is no longer in business. Parts are almost impossible to find except for batteries and charger, reducer, normal things that these battery powered electric carts have, which I would never own an electric cart. I have an old beater Yamaha. It's gas. I would not trade it for your best electric cart. You could bring out here a 10-seater, souped up, jacked up. I would not trade you because they're so easy to work on and they just keep going. Where with this, batteries go out several $100s, reducer goes out, $100, battery charger goes out $400. It's 48 volt, where mine is 12 volt. If I want to add a headlight to it, I just hook it to the battery. Here you got to have a reducer. Beside the point. So anyway, to help people out with these Ruff and Tuff carts, they are 3 fuses to start out with. 1 behind this panel here that's got all your switches on it. 2 under here. 1 right here, you have your flasher, your relay, and a fuse under there. I'm not even going to pull it out, it's down there, I promise you. Another fuse for the reducer right there. 3 fuses. If there's any more, they are taped up. So here's what we got. Over here is all your motor controller, batteries, charger, reducer, voltage regulator. So what happens is this thing is 3 wires. You can see it down there. It's hard to see it right now. I've got it retaped. I don't like making 3-hour videos to show one thing, but this thing had 3 wires in it, red, black, and a yellow. What happens is all this wiring, about 100 wires, comes up into your switch, then comes back out and feeds the reducer, because there's 48 volts going up into the switch. When you turn the switch all the way over, which is the second turn, which this switch doesn't click anymore, it just slides back and forth. But fortunately it's working, because that's one of the parts you can't find, and a lot of times may be your problem. But the problem on this one is we lost the accessories. So that yellow wire comes back up into the reducer, the switch turns it on through that wire, then it sends 12 volts back out of that red and black wire. What I first did was just skint me off a little bit of that red and black in front, this side of the fuse, and just took the 12 volt light to it, made sure it worked, turned the switch on. First I did it with a meter, made sure it had 12 volts, it did. Hooked the light to it, turned the switch on, it come on. So I knew my switch is working, my wiring up to that point is good, and my reducer's working. So, to make a real long story short, after working on this thing for 3 days, checking this, checking that, there's my dog. There is a plug. What happens is that wire runs, and then the stupid design, it goes back under the cart right there. And there's a plug right there, which I pulled back into the cart. It was made to go under the cart, and they thought, hey, let's wrap some plastic around it, kind of like they did this flasher, and that'll keep all the corrosion and all the dirt out of it. Well, it's under the cart. Why didn't they just put the plug inside under here? It's not going to stop all corrosion, but it's not going to be under the cart. So you can see that. if you can see it, that's where it was. Right under here. It went into a plug that was all taped up with clear plastic. And so I was going to trace it from where I knew I had power back up into everything if I needed to. But that plug has 3 wires going into it. Then it went into the other side of the plug. Then it changes colors. That was the problem I saw a lot of people had was, hey, this thing, it's hard to trace any kind of wiring without pulling all the loom, all the tape off, because every plug it changed colors, which was another terrible design. There's no way to look over here and go, okay, I need to find this red wire with a pink stripe, because you're not going to. Fortunately for me, though, it took some work, it took some learning, because I'm not an expert on these electric carts, never had one, so I had to learn how they worked. As soon as I unplugged this plug here, right under here, I noticed that the red wire, which would be power going into, I don't remember what color, but you can just look at it and tell, I think it was green, a green wire. Inside the spade of that plug was completely corroded. So tried to clean it with a wire brush, sprayed some battery cleaner in there, which, kills that corrosion. Put some electrical grease in that plug, snapped it back together, turned on the switch, and I had all accessories. So basically there's another switch also, if you don't know about it, right there. That kills everything. It won't do anything with the switch on. Usually that switch will stay on, so you can just use your switch here and you'll see your 48 volts come on. And just for instance, you can see the speedometer jumped a little bit. There it went. It's testing itself. And then lights. We have lights. We have flashers, when before we did not. So at first I was like, it has to be in the key, because this key just slides. It don't click, it don't do nothing. I was like, I don't know, because I could hear the relays kicking on in that reducer. So I was like, well, maybe the reducer's bad. So then I checked those wires and narrowed it all down to that one plug, one wire, had a lot of corrosion in it, causing nothing to work. So basically, if you have trouble with these things and you can't find anything like I did, just know that you can start right here. Figure out your way. Don't let them touch, but how you can get a meter on that red and black wire. Red is power, black is ground. And then turn your switch and make sure you got 12 volts. And then if you do it behind the fuse to make sure there's no corrosion in the fuse, or, first make sure your fuse is good. And then just start tracing that wire back. And if you get to that plug and it's not corroded, could be another plug, but you're going to have to start ripping off wire loom and tape until you get to a point to where you have no more 12 volt and you can narrow it down. I doubt you could have corrosion up in here. There's no protection on a lot of these wires except little, plastic or rubber over the terminal, but everything's open. You can see the back of this from underneath the golf cart. But, if one thing had stopped working, you could probably narrow it down and go, okay, I got some corrosion on this one thing, or this one thing just don't work. But with everything going out, I knew somewhere in between this and under the seat we had a problem. Luckily I found it. Hope this helps someone where you don't have to research and search and search and search, and hope it ain't your key. I hear that you can't find these switches, so I'm gonna walk around here. And basically what I was going to do, if it was in the switch, I was hoping my reducer was going to work, which reducer's like $70. And they said the thing about it is you may have a different reducer. You may have a 4-wire. I also read that Ruff and Tuff would use whatever the cheapest reducer was at the time the cart was built. They could have built one and the next one could have had a 4-wire reducer. But basically you got 48 volt going into it, then it reduces it to 12 volt going out so it can power lights or whatever. My dog. And so if you got power there, what I was going to do, worst comes to worst, I was going to pull my power, run a new wire to those reducer wires, and figure out where the main wire was coming off that switch that powered all this stuff and just redo it. Luckily, I found the corrosion. Hope it helps. Y'all have a good day.